So every time I listen to that video, every time I think about our purpose, a number of things come to mind. First of all, that's very inspiring. It says we don't own. It says we do it together. It says that every single individual project matters. It tells that we are a community. But what does it mean to me? Because as a member of the board, when we're discussing the new purpose, mixed reactions. And maybe some of you here today also have mixed reactions about the purpose. First of all, on my part, I'm very cynical. But at the same time, I'm very practical. So when I heard project success, simple, we all agree. That's what we're there. From the day I started project management, it's all about project success. You give me the requirements, I go away and deliver your project. Done my project, my job is done. Well done, project delivered. That was it. So when they said to elevate your world, which is the second part to it, or maximize project success, I was in the boardroom discussing, but it's really about just delivering the project, isn't it? How many people disagree with that? I've got one person. Two. Yeah. Okay, the rest agree, which is interesting. But if you sit back and think about it, when you think about the purpose and the real value and intent behind it, one word always sticks out to me: maximize. So what is it really saying when we say maximize project success? Okay, you deliver a project, it's done. And I always recall a statement or a story that's been told about a cleaner in NASA that was approached by the president at the time, and then the president asked, "What do you do?" And then the cleaner proudly, in full attention, said, I'm helping man get to the moon." To me, that is maximizing project success. It's not only about delivering the project itself, actually, somebody who's part of that team helping you to deliver the project. That's maximizing success. So it's not about only the success of the project, it's how you make that project better. I also recall that in my time, every time I'm on a project, one of the things I like doing personally as an individual is making sure I train on my project so that they can deliver projects themselves after I've left. That is maximizing project success. I was listening to Dr. Mohammed's speech, and he says, you don't give somebody fish, you teach them fish. That is maximizing. Because you have to delivering the project. So project success is also about the standard things, the traditional things that I grew up with, and most of you may have grown up with, around delivering your projects and getting successful. But there are things you can do in conjunction with that to maximize success. So that really catches me. To elevate our world, I was skeptical. But we talk about sustainability a lot. So obviously, if you want to do a project, you have to make sure it's sustainable. And then you make that connection to elevate the world. But when you think more about it, okay, I've been in construction. There's nothing groundbreaking sometimes in construction. I don't know how it really elevates the world. You can have that perception around it. But if you think back, if you're building a hospital, you're providing the facilities, the infrastructure for doctors to now do the operations that makes people's lives better. You're elevating the world that way. You're in a small, bigger picture. No matter what you do, you're providing services, improving the economy, improving individuals' lives because you have developed or implemented a project. So the key thing to know is that the small element all of us here do today as project managers is part of a bigger network that helps to elevate our work. When you put the whole picture together, you see how powerful our purpose statement is. How powerful the words behind maximize project success and then elevate our world. And to me, that is the fundamental underlying principles behind why PMI as an organization drives forward, believes in project management, believes in volunteering, and why all of us are here today in order to, and I use the phrase again, maximize project success and elevate our world. So let me get into the meat of evolving landscape of project management. what I'm going to talk about 5 key areas, okay? And I use the word evolving landscape because sometimes you hear the future of project management. But I'm a strong believer in the future is already there. I mean, technically, the future is 1 minute from today, or 1 second from now, technically. But I want to talk about trends and patterns based on a lot of PMI research and other research that are now determining what that evolving landscape is. And I'm going to focus on 5 key areas so that we understand. And hopefully, one or all of the 5 will appeal to you, and then you'll have something to take away to think about and to implement or do or bring into your organizations or yourself as an individual. So, what is the first area of interest? The word projectization. Yesterday I was in a dinner and somebody used the word projectize, and I was very happy. Because in these days where economic trends have changed, governments and institutions are trying to drive projects through to get growth and development occurring, organizations have beginning, and some have understood, that the best way to do things is through projects. If you don't mentally have that mentality of saying, I'm going to make this a project, and by making it a project, we all know that, a clear start, a clear end, and you've got some framework around it. That has become key. In fact, the research done by Accenture that said 79% of executives agree that the future of work will be based more on specific projects than roles. So that is indicating that organizations today understand that they have their work, they have to run the business, but if they want to make these fundamental changes in an area of VUCA, as we all know, that they have to dedicate time and resources to that. To dedicate time and resources to make sure you get next stage growth in today's environment where things are happening fast, you have to base it as a project. Projectization is one of the key trends that is becoming more and more important because the fundamental principle behind projectization is projects are how work gets done. If you really want to get something done, put it down to the project. And I was very pleased to see Dr. Mohammed's presentation that listed all the projects, and then the 28 that were picked. What came to mind on the 28 that were picked out, they have maximized project success in those 28. The rest were projects, very good, but those 28 maximize project success. And it's very important to understand that distinction. So projectization, important. So what will the second one be? If we believe that projectization, we understand that organizations are putting forward a lot of projects because of the economy. What would that lead to? Or what data does PMI have or research that PMI has done that could tie that, the effect of that? Talent. Because if you have projects, you need people to deliver it. We talk about the human touch. You need talent there to do it. So what does data tell us today about talent? It says by 2030, we need 25 million project-oriented roles, which equates to 2.3 million annual job openings. Some people have asked, so where are we going to get it from? Why is it happening? It's happening because a number of organizations have decided that the best way to move forward, to develop, to get innovation, to do what they need to do is through projectization. They put focus on projects. Because they put focus on projects, they need project-oriented individuals to assist. So the number has drastically increased because of that. They need us, the project-oriented roles. And when I say project-oriented roles, I don't only mean project managers. And when I say I mean PMI. We don't always mean project managers. It's project analysts, it's data, project planners, estimators, everybody that is involved in the field of project management, which collectively we can call project professionals as a collective word doing that. That is the demand so far. 25 million, 2.3 million annual jobs. That is what is required in order to meet this changing trend. So the landscape from projectization to project talent is important to understand. Because without talent, projects can't be delivered. Without talent, we can't maximize project success. And if we can't maximize project success, we cannot elevate our world. But project talent cannot exist on its own. It's not really all about numbers. It's not really back with talent. What ties it back with talent is that sometimes technology can be tricky. So what ties it back with project talent that we all have to be aware of is skills. We've got talent, people that understand project management and are dealing project-orientated roles. But skills, it's not everybody that can do everything. We have to specifically think about skills that are important in order to deliver projects. If you have the talent, you need to have that additional advantage. Let me call it advantage with skills. You have to have that mindset that says, I am here to deliver. I am here to implement. And there's several studies that have been done around that. And a recent study that was carried out by PwC, Economic something, said, and they asked, and this was done in the MENA region, they asked a number of people, and they said, do you think your skills need to change significantly within the next 5 years? 52% of the respondents there said yes. So 52% of project managers or project professionals believe and are confident that their skill sets have to change drastically within the next 5 years. The former person in this research also asked, are you very clear about what skills you need to change to in this 5 year period? 61% were very clear what they felt it should be. The same survey asked, so what is that number one skill that you believe as project managers or project professionals you need to have to be prepared for the next 5 years? Any guesses what that was? AI, good guess. Any more? Problem solving, anything else? Sorry? Right? People management, soft skills. Interestingly, you're wrong. Adaptability and flexibility. This is quite important. So the survey understood that in order to deliver, the one skill you must have is you must be able to be adaptable and flexible in how you deliver projects. Some of the points that were brought up, all about what we already know, what we do as far as power skills and everything, but they're very focused on the fact that they themselves as individuals need to be flexible. They need to be able to adapt. Because in today's environment, it's all about maximizing project success, delivering projects. In a VUCA environment, things change quickly. As a deliverer or implementer of a project, you need to be able to adapt and be flexible and change the methods in order to help deliver it. 85% of respondents in the media region to this PwC survey said that. So that's quite interesting. Okay? So there are a bunch of skills that we need to know, but specific skill in this region was highlighted as something key. And I'm going to stretch a bit and look at how PMI fits into this area of skills. Hopefully you're all familiar with the PMI talent triangle. If you're not, raise your hand. That usually doesn't work. But if you're not, look for a PMI member of staff, or a PMI volunteer or anybody and ask them for it. But the principle behind the PMI talent triangle, the word is talent triangle, is that the three areas: ways of working, and then remember, adaptability and flexibility is very key in this region. But ways of working, which is the light blue color, is talking about mastering diverse and creative ways to get jobs done. That's really about adaptability and using different ways with the objective that you're there to get a job done. Then we have business acumen. No project is done in isolation. Projects are done for a reason. There's a business benefit behind it. There's an objective. There's corporate strategies, implementation criteria. You have to understand why a project is being delivered. You can't go back into the traditional old days where your job is simply to just deliver the project and that's it. You're not interested in the bigger scope. You have to be interested in the bigger scope because you can only make correct decisions and the right decisions if you understand what the bigger picture is. So the business acumen side about it is about making good judgments and quick decisions and understanding their impact. If you don't know the big picture, if you don't know the vision, you can never understand the impact of any decision you make in the implementation of your project. And as we mentioned, the next one is power skills. One to me I talk about is about the human aspect of it. Your ability to apply, influence, inspire, change, and build relationships with critical interpersonal skills. But the world is always changing. A lot is happening, and I'm talking about the evolving landscape. And one of the other things about the evolving landscape is first, if you look at power skills, there's some critical power skills that are required today that we need to become conscious of because in the next 5 years they become important. And those are around strategic thinking, they're around problem solving, which was mentioned, it's around collaborative leadership, and around communication. Communication has been in one of our skills from day one, but it's becoming extremely important. And there's a growing demand for new skills. So it's not about what you already know or what you're reskilling to know, but new skills. And then somebody mentioned AI, let's call it technology or emerging technologies. There's so many new skills coming out that as a project manager or project professional, you need to be aware of in this evolving landscape of project management. And the one that actually, out of the new skills there, out of the growing demand, outside the techie stuff, is the visualization and storytelling aspect of it. Because part of what we do, and part of how we should promote our projects, part of how we can elevate our world and maximize project success, is to be able to talk about the projects, and then talk about the success, share feedback and learnings, so that we continue to maximize project success. About projectization, we've talked about talent, we've talked about skills. What next could be happening in this evolving landscape of project management? Ways of working. Now we can tie ways of working back to the research that was done about adaptability and flexibility. But PMI has a pulse of a profession, and in its 15th edition, it looked at certain areas around ways of working, because ways of working are important. It concluded on 3 separate areas, and I'll go into details of these separate areas. One, it says choosing the right project management approach is table stakes, which means it is normal. It should be the basis for what you're doing, is choosing the right project management approach. And I'll go into details. Different work environments are equally effective. And I'll go into some more details of what I mean by different, or what the research means about different work environments. And then amplify enablers for greater project performance holistically. So let me take the first one. Project management approaches. And this is quite interesting. So when we talk about project management approaches, and when we think about the evolving landscape of project management, you hear agile, predictive, and any guesses? Hybrid. We're all fair there. And there's debates around agile, the debates around whether it should be productive. There's some debates that say one industry does more on this side and another industry does that. Those are what we mean by project approaches. I'm going to step this way. So the research looked at different ways of working. And as you can see, predictive is on the increase. Agile, which is the sort of purple line, generally, although it went up in 2022 to 27%, it dropped in 2023 to 24%, roughly. And if you saw the thicker line, it's been relatively steady. So when it comes to agile project management approaches, that's generically steady. Predictive is on the rise. Hybrid is on the rise. And when you look further into the data, it's quite interesting to see which organizations are doing it. Because IT in the data that I was looking at is now switching more towards predictive. That shocks me. But what else? The research also looked into the impact on project performance with all the three different types of approaches. And what do you see consistent there? 74, 75, 1% difference. The concept behind that is that hybrid approaches are increasing, and the choice of project management approach does not significantly higher project performance. So irrespective of which project management approach you use, you still get the right level of project performance. So the discussion around whether hybrids, agile or predictive works in the evolving landscape is not about that. It's more about fit for purpose. If agile is fit for purpose for your organization, then that's what will give you project success. It's just simple. If predictive is fit for purpose for your organization, that's what gives you project success. And if it's hybrid, you get project success there. It's not about a competition between one or the other. It's about fit for purpose. So the principle behind this is use what is fit for purpose. So in the evolving landscape of project management, we'll be looking, as project managers, you should start looking what is right or fit for purpose for your project to deliver project success. And if you believe it's any one of the three, then use it. When I go to organizations and they say, oh, we are an agile organization, and you go and look at what they're actually doing, they're not actually doing agile. They're sticking to the buzzword, agile, agile, agile. But if you look deep in, they're not doing agile. Or they're trying to ram in the existing processes and procedures to call it agile. In the evolving landscape of project management, just use what is fit for purpose. We talked about work arrangements. And then when we talk about work arrangements, because since COVID, what has happened since COVID? We've got a lot of people working from home. We've got some people that go into the office. The whole work environment has changed. So as project managers now, delivering projects, we're delivering projects in a new work environment, in a different type of work environment, where before your teams used to be co-located most times, sometimes remotely, with you, and you're working with them. The bulk of your team is spread across globally. And you have to co-work with them and collaborate. But what does that mean to project success? Are projects getting better because we're now working remotely? We don't physically see our team members. Does it have an impact on project performance or organizational performance? How do we predict how we should be working going forward? Well, the study looked at project performance based on whether you're working hybrid, whether you're working remote, or in a hybrid location, or in person. What does that show you? Project performance has not changed, irrespective of where you work. So whether it's remote, hybrid, or in person, in theory, and according to the report, the project performance stays the same. You may ask yourself, why is this happening? Because if you're a project manager now working in a comfortable environment, presumably in your house, you probably give a bit more. Again, it's all about fit for purpose. In certain environments and industries, it works. And because they've adapted the procedures and process to make it work, they're getting project performance. So it's really about you, adaptability and flexibility, remember those words, being adaptable, even as an organization, to allow for these new work arrangements to work, so that you still get that productivity. So it's important to remember that fact, is that sometimes we spend a lot of time on the buzzwords and not looking at the real detail behind it in order to ensure we get project success. The other interesting factor around work environment here, so that says when chosen appropriately, work location has a neutral effect. But the other interesting thing here around it is that when project managers or project professionals were asked how remote working was doing in the performance, they all gave relatively high scores in terms of percentage. When they asked the senior leaders within the organization what they felt, the scores went down. So there's some sort of mismatch. People delivering your projects are happy to work remotely, and they're still providing performance. But some senior executives or project sponsors are uncomfortable with the fact that they're working remotely, even though performance is good. And this is where we get this balance. So in the evolving landscape of project managers, yourselves as project managers need to do more to convince your senior executives on the value of you working from home or remotely, and vice versa. We have to get that concept in, and again, I'm talking about the evolving project management landscape, so that both parties understand, so that they can work together and collaborate to deliver project success. So the perception is different across both areas. And there's a little note there on the other side, is that a McKinsey report said only 41% of leaders were comfortable with remote working. And if you look into the details, it's just different styles or sticking to the traditional method that if I can't see you, you're not working. That concept in the new world, in the evolving landscape of project management, needs to change. And it's us. Remember, I talked about communication and storytelling. It is us as project professionals that need to tell the story and the set around how we can effectively still deliver projects, whether remote or on location. And that is our responsibility as project professionals to deliver that. You tie that all together, and then you make a better message when you're delivering there. The other points, I said there were 3 points in the thought leadership report, and also the profession, is what they call amplify enablers. So when the report talks about enablers, what they mean by enablers? So the definition really is specific supporting programming that helps individuals and teams learn new skills and competencies. So what they're saying is, it did a research in organizations that were given their teams enablers, and said, what do these enablers do in terms of project performance? What impact does it have if you give your team or your individuals new skills and competencies? What effect does that have on project performance? The result says those organizations that gave 3 or more enablers to their team had greater performance than those that did 2 or less. And it actually found out that those that did none, their performance was actually going down, because there's a lot of scope creep and there's some other criteria in the report that talks about it. So the data says the more you provide training, competency, I mean, it was specific in some things around mentorship and leadership type skills. But the more you provide skills to your teams, the better the performance of your project. So when you as a project professional are sitting down, or yourself here as an executive, and somebody comes to you with a specific training need, or for the team for a specific training need, bear in mind that providing that training need will, according to this data, improve the overall project performance of the specific projects the individuals in the team are doing, and therefore improve the overall bottom line, if I want to use that word, for your organization. Bear that in mind. But again, as I always say, it is yourselves as project professionals that need to tell that story. I'm providing data here on behalf of PMI that gives you the story, but it's for you to provide that story to encourage to show the justification. So that's the fourth. So what is the fifth? And I said I'll only give five and many other things, but what is the fifth thing that is an evolving landscape of project management? Okay, there's some states I've mentioned that. The fifth thing, and I'm sure all of you can guess, is what I'll call technology, and specifically emerging technology. And I'm looking, when I say about the evolving landscape, I'm actually looking roughly 5 years, because these days, if you look 10 years, you're wasting your time. 3 to 5 years, 5 years is the maximum as far as I'm concerned. Don't look further than 5 years because you can't do it. And the other thing is that I have no crystal ball, PMI has no crystal ball. We're just looking into ideas and concepts based on research in order that we give you insights so you can use that insight to see what is fit for purpose for your organization or yourself, and then do that. So, AI is a big buzzword. It's fantastic. There's some fears, there's some good sides, there's some bad sides, there's some rumors, there's some facts, there's some, doomsday, there's some, born-again days and things like that. There's a lot around it, okay? But what are the data that PMI across various research tell us about AI? Tell us about AI when it comes to project management, because there are tons of stories, and there's a lot going on positively around AI. But from a project management perspective, what is it telling us? I'm going to throw a bunch of data now, and then just go through it very quickly. So, left and right. So there's a number, 81% project professionals report that their organizations are being impacted by AI. Fact. So everybody's saying their organization is being impacted by AI. Most of the executives are saying AI and Gen AI are the top 3 technologies. So there's an acceptance that there's an impact, and there's the top 3 technologies. That's what the data says. But when we now look at that data and take to the next line there, we find out that 66% of executives are ambivalent, so they're cautious around AI and the progress of which AI is going into the organization. So there's some caution around it. They're not too sure, AI is there, okay? And then on the other side, 90%, even when they're cautious, want to do it, they think it should be fast, 90% are saying, oh, well, I'm going to wait, because I think this is a new buzz. So there you are on one side saying, whoa, I want AI to move faster. On the other side, I think it's still a hype. I just want to see what happens. There's a conflict there. So this is the project management professional we're talking about here. A similar survey, and the details of which survey is at the bottom there, a similar survey said that when they looked at companies, 4 or less were rated, out of 10, were rated as not providing training to their employees. So they're not providing training. If you go back, AS, top 3 technology, AS, but you're not providing training for it. And remember what I talked about, enablers? That's important, but you're not providing training. You're concerned about it, you want to move about it, but you're not providing any training. And then even when you ask the professionals, the project professionals, they had basic or limited knowledge and experience in AI. A lot of conflicting data there on both sides. So what's happening really in this AI market? Now, when you specifically go down to project professionals, I'm absolutely the same. The data says they believe 76% of project professionals believe that AI will transform the ways of working in the next 3 years by 7 or more. So we as project professionals are saying it's going to change. It's going to change the way we do work. Our organizations, by the way, are not training us, but they've accepted that it's one of the top 3 technologies. So this evolving landscape of project management is quite, AI in project management is quite interesting, because we've got conflicting demands, conflicting information there. And only 20% of project professionals use it always or often, AI, in their jobs. There's a lot of confusion here. There's a lot of unclarity in terms of how the evolving landscape for project management will be based on this data in the next 3 to 5 years or from today going forward. So, when this was being put together, I Googled images of, just Google image, project manager. This is what you come up with, which one is there? Because that's what we do. We juggle a number of things using different tools in order to get our projects delivered, in order to maximize project success. There are tons of things we juggle. There are tons of skills we have to have and do. So what does that mean if we're doing this? What does that mean when we think in an AI concept? Different people say it's going to replace us and different things like that. This is my opinion. My opinion is that this is what's going to happen. I talked about the project talent triangle and the human being. Today we're talking about the importance of humanity in humans. From a project management perspective, we will still be in the picture. As far, my opinion, is that today and in the next 3 years, projects don't deliver themselves. Projects are delivered by us, by people. And that will continue to exist. But the people, which is us as project professionals, have to be fully aware of the PMI talent triangle from a PMI perspective, and have to have those skills, knowledge, and the mindset in order to be able to deliver projects, in order to be able to maximize project success, in order to be able to determine how we elevate our world. Human beings, plus these additional skills we've talked about across the board, are important. But as project professionals, we always use tools. So we use AI as a tool to help us. So instead of that big picture where we're carrying everything else, somebody else is carrying it for us. And I remember I was giving a tutorial to young students, and I said, if you look at it in the good old days, and I like dumbing down examples of something like that. If you go back into the good old days, before the carrier bag was invented, the carrier bag must have been invented, we will carry things like that. And then somebody invented the carrier bag, and we put everything in the carrier bag, and then that's the way I look at AI. We're going to put everything in there, and somebody else is going to do it for us. That's my opinion. So, in human touch, plus the PMI talent triangle, with the aid of this fantastic, wonderful tool called AI, and potentially with some other tools that AI might not cover, because we don't know, we're looking in 5 years' time just to evolving, as I said, just to evolving, so there may be some tools that we're using that AI is not covering. And then we get what I call the augmented, or what PMI calls the augmented project professional. We're augmenting the services and the profession with AI to deliver our projects successfully. Again, we're talking about the evolving landscape, and we're trying to look a step forward into it. So what does that mean from a PMI perspective? What is PMI doing? As I said, there's a lot of confusing data and different data across the organization, across the industry, the world, around AI. But a key statement to remember and to bear in mind is that the future of project management profession will be influenced by the AI-driven transformation. So there's a lot going on, so AI-driven transformation, and by shifting ways of working. And we've talked about that in the 5 criteria I put together. But also know that from a PMI perspective, in order to try and help us, because nobody really knows the future, there's no crystal ball here that we're saying, we're just looking into it, and I like the idea of scenario labs, but we're looking into what could it be. So PMI so far have 2 online courses, if you're interested in understanding about AI, and then making your own decisions and providing insights to PMI via chapters or via communities or via speeches like this. There's one on generative AI overview, which is free to everybody. So anybody, even if you're not a chapter member, you can take that course free of charge and get an understanding of what AI is all about. So you can make your own decisions around that. Then we release a second one, which goes into a bit more details around AI and data and the impact through that. And that one is for members only. So if you want to get more details, join in that. We've got a lot of thought leadership articles around AI, and the recent one is around prompting, prompting, so that you can prompt better when using AI. And we have our PMI Infinity tool, which is an AI tool specific to the project management environment, specific to PMI's data, and it tells you this is PMI external data, so you can get knowledge there. And we've got an AI community, digital community, which you can request to join, because then we're trying to get more insights and then take away this confusion and actually try and do better when we are looking at the evolving landscape of and project management. So, something to bear in mind is that we are not competing with AI. As I said, it will just be an additional tool. This is PMI's perspective. We have to learn how to embrace it together. And that's the key thing there. And there's a statement that's been, that in the AI community goes around, is that if you don't use AI, somebody who's using AI will take your job. So don't be afraid that AI will take your job, but another person who's using AI will take your job if you don't do it. It's like everything else. Technology moves on, I remember I was talking to some people yesterday. I'm an architect by education. I don't practice anymore. But in my time, man, I used to use pen, ink, scale rule, tracing paper, slide rule, and things. That's how I used to do it. Now it's, rivet and everything does it. Technology moves on. If I kept using my pen, rotary pens, if I remember at the time, and my scale rules and slide rules and everything like that, nobody's going to use them because everybody's doing it more effectively with modern day tools. Who knows what this is? I just put it off the phone. Those things I can say around completion, but the key thing to bear in mind from what I said is projectization is how work gets done. As an organization, please always remember that if you really want something done and delivered, projectize it. We talked about talent and skills, but the best way I like putting it is career-long learning. Don't think that you're a particular age and you should stop learning. Don't think that after you finish school, you should stop learning. Don't think if you've been doing it for 400 years that there's nothing new to learn. There will always be something new to learn. You have to consistently upskill, reskill, and acquire new skills in order to move forward, because that is extremely critical to project success. Remember what I talked about ways of working. I use the word hybridity, which can be complex to say, but fit for purpose is important. Whatever you do as project professionals, when you're looking in the evolving landscape of project management, think fit for purpose. Is what you're doing now fit for purpose? Are you being stuck in a traditional way of working? We have to be, remember what the survey says, we have to be adaptable and flexible. To be adaptable and flexible, you have to have the right project management approach, the right mindset to do it. So, always remember, fit for purpose. Ask yourself that question every single time. Don't be afraid of digital, no matter what happens. When internet came, there's something like that. Every new technology that's come has been impactful. And I was in a conference, somebody else who said there have been, I think it said 3 or 4 major inventions. And the first one was fire. When you think about fire, and in those days, that must have been fantastic, but there's nothing to it. And this is an example. AI, digital, the future is digital and will be powered by technology. And I use Gen I because that's what we talked about. 2 days, there's AGI, there's emerging technology. There's a number of emerging technologies that come out. We have to embed those technologies in our ways of working, which are flexible and as part of our career-long learning. Overall, PMI's purpose here is to light the way by helping you as members or individuals to maximize project success and elevate our world. So on that note, I'd like to say Mabruk and thank you very much.